Again, is go over our disclaimer. Please be advised that the information in this presentation contains informal opinions and are only applicable to the factual situations referenced and to the statutes in existence as of the date of this presentation. The Department of Revenue may take a contrary position in the future to what is stated today. Any oral or written opinion by department personnel not pursuant to a petition for declaratory order under Iowa Administrative Code Rule 701-7.24 is not, I'm not reading that, is not binding on the department. It's off my screen.
Nope.
So maybe we can fix that. Okay, got that disclaimer out of the way. All right. So in Iowa, not all services are taxable. In fact, the rule is that services in Iowa are not subject to tax unless they are specifically enumerated in the code. Today we're going to talk about some that are enumerated: landscaping, lawn care, and tree trimming and removal services. They are subject to Iowa sales and use tax. So persons that provide such services must obtain a sales tax permit and remit sales tax to the Department of Revenue. So landscaping, what is landscaping? Well, landscaping means arranging or modifying the natural condition of a given parcel or tract of land to make the land suitable for public or private use or enjoyment. However, a service that is required to be performed by a landscape architect who is registered under Iowa Code Section 544B.2 is not subject to tax if the service is actually performed by that landscaper. By that landscape architect, and the charge for the service is separately stated on the invoice and separately billed to the customer. Yes, I will refer to both. Okay.
Yeah, because it looks like posting the slides in chat for everyone, but it looks like on the format, for some reason, in number 4, we got a little extra text on there that's kind of running off the bottom. So
yeah, we'll do our best. Okay. Landscaping materials. The gross receipts from landscaping materials that are used in providing landscaping services and which are sold to final consumers are subject to sales tax. So the final consumer means the owner of the land to which the landscaping materials are applied, or a general building contractor when the landscaping contractor contracts with the general building contractor. Landscaping materials include sod, dirt, trees, shrubbery, bulbs, sand, rocks, wood chips, and other similar materials. So when the retailer of sod, dirt, trees, etc., and other similar materials installs these items as part of a contract for landscaping or improving land for a lump sum, the entire gross receipts are subject to tax. Any retailer's charges for landscaping are taxable. Okay, so, however, a retailer's charges for non-taxable services are not taxable if contracted for separately, or if no written contract exists, if the charges are itemized separately on the invoice. So, a sodding contractor, here's an example. A sodding contractor agrees to furnish and install 20 yards of sod for a lump sum. The sodding contractor then must charge the customer sales tax on the lump sum. Another example, Company A enters into a contract for the landscaping of an existing office building. The Company A agrees to furnish the shrubs, white rock, and wood chips. Company A also contracts to install all of the landscaping materials for an hourly fee. In this particular case, Company A's hourly fee is taxable. Now, if the contractor charges separately for a service that is not taxable, the charge is excluded from tax because it was separately contracted for. There are situations where a landscaper acts as a construction contractor. So any portion of a landscaping service that includes labor and materials to erect a structure is considered a construction contract and not landscaping service, and is generally exempt from sales tax. Structures that are in this category would include such items as retaining walls, lawn lighting systems, lawn irrigation systems, pools, walkways, and any other permanently attached items to realty or real estate. To be exempt from sales tax, the invoice, however, must state the charges for construction separate from landscaping charges. By statute, a landscaper is considered a consumer of any construction materials used in the performance of a construction contract and must therefore pay sales tax and any local option tax on all construction materials that they purchase. Iowa also taxes lawn care. So what is lawn care? Lawn care refers to services specifically related to the care and maintenance of lawns. This includes mowing, trimming, watering, fertilizing, reseeding, resodding, and killing of insects, moles, other vermin, weeds, or fungi that may be threatening a lawn. A lawn is defined as an open space between woods or ground, as around a house or in a garden or park that is covered with grass and is generally kept mowed or required to be kept mowed. Some examples, non-exclusive examples of properties that would contain a lawn would include cemetery grounds, golf courses, parks, and residential or commercial properties containing one or more buildings or structures. Tree trimming and removal is also an enumerated service and is also therefore taxable. Tree trimming and tree removal mean the removal of any portion of a tree in whole or in part, including branches, trunks, and stumps. A tree is defined and includes any woody perennial plant, including shrubs with main stems or trunks made of wood. Okay. The sale of any wood that is derived from a tree trimming or removal service, such as for sale as firewood, constitutes the sale of tangible personal property. So if a tree trimming company provides the service of tree trimming or removal and then retains any of the wood, the byproduct for later sales, such as wood chips or firewood, that service is not provided as a sale for resale. The service provider must charge tax on both the service of tree trimming and removal, and later must also charge sales tax on the sale of those byproducts derived from that service. So if they come in and cut down your tree, they're going to charge tax on that. If they turn around and if they keep the tree and sell it as firewood, they also have to charge sales tax on the firewood.
So to fully answer Sarah's question, it does not matter why they're removing the tree. If they're tree trimming or removal, even if it's due to storm damage,
it is subject to tax.
It's subject to tax. All right, there we go. We'll knock that one out.
There you go. All right. Okay. How to bill customers. Remember the total charge for lawn care service is subject to Iowa sales tax. It doesn't matter if you itemize it or it's a lump sum. And there's a couple examples here. I think you can see them. In the first one, in this first case, the service provider, in this first one, they itemize the invoice to the customers, and in that particular case, the invoice shows the amount and the cost and the type of product. So if you look at it, there's $300, or the total charge is $300. The Iowa sales tax was 6%, and the local option 1% is for a grand total of $321. It's itemized below in the lower section. It's kind of hard for me to see on mine, but they broke it down into the various charges to come up with the grand total. It doesn't matter, however, it's itemized or a lump sum, though, because the entire amount is taxable. The second example we have here is one where they didn't itemize it. They didn't itemize the chemicals and the fertilizer. Tax was paid on those items at the time of purchase, and in that particular case, because they didn't itemize it, they still they still have to charge tax in the full amount, even though they pay tax up front. Okay, so a landscaping company is not required to purchase product for resale, as previously explained, when they're buying it from their supplier. If they pay sales tax to their supplier for supplies, then they must charge, and they must still charge tax on the entire amount when they bill their customer. So how do we report and remit the sales tax? Well, businesses must remit the sales tax to the department in the filing period in which the service was performed. So, for example, if the service was performed in the second quarter, April through June, and the customer didn't pay until July, the second quarter return must still be used to report the sales and remit the tax due. So the service cannot wait until the third quarter to show that. It must be included in the quarter when the service was performed. Another thing you have to consider when you for landscapers is, do they have employees? If a landscaper does have employees, it must withhold federal and state income taxes from the employees' paychecks. And this means in that particular case, they would have to register to become a withholding agent with both the Internal Revenue Service and with the Iowa Department of Revenue. Employees who make more than $200 per week and claim they are exempt from withholding must still complete the W-4. Okay. All right. Let's take some of your questions that we have up here. I haven't.
So most are still, I don't think we answered the one we had on lawn care and landscape. I've not seen any other new lawn care or landscape questions.
Okay. So some of these questions don't, as Patrick said, don't deal specifically with lawn care and landscaping, but are more to do with the construction industry. But since we have the time, we'll see if we can. What do we have? Another 15 minutes here.
So one that's probably close and goes a lot with it. If we look at Sarah Lee's question, talks about snow removal, because a lot of landscape land care companies in the winter,
right,
they find another way to make money.
So, yes, again, only those services that are specifically enumerated in the code are subject to tax. So a lot of companies that do in the summer do provide lawn care in the service. They turn around and do snow removal, and snow removal is not listed as an enumerated service. So the question is snow removal subject to sales tax if you are removing snow for, let's say, Walmart? Is the salt you put on the parking lot subject to sales tax to Walmart or to the contractor? Okay, the snow removal itself is not taxable. It depends how if you are selling salt to Walmart specifically and they're applying it, you would have to charge Walmart the tax. As a contractor, however, if you are consuming the salt yourself, then you would pay the tax on the salt. Let's look at. All right, I'm kind of avoiding this one. Let's look at this first one from Laura. I have an exempt entity for a contract for art gallery and culture center. Okay, that doesn't have a construction project. Can this be used? The form is dated from, well, this is a specific question on a specific taxpayer. We probably really shouldn't answer, but I'll try to make it into a more general question. The form, the work will be performed in, was performed in May of 19. Would this be tax exempt? If they are an exempt entity and they registered with the department and they issued the contractor the exemption certificate which was used, I believe in that particular case it would still be exempt. When the exempt entity registered, they would have had to identify the projects.
I'm going to scroll you down here.
Okay. All right.
So Trish asked, talking about when you got a couple questions around
Sure.
If the service is started in the second quarter but finished in the third quarter, which quarter gets the sales tax remittance?
Well, that's a good question.
And I guess Mary's question also goes along with it, so let's throw it in there. For lawn care, do you also pay the sales tax in the quarter the service is provided instead of when it is paid?
Oh, okay, I'm looking at the wrong question. Okay, the last question on there, there's two from Mary.
Two
Okay.
similar, yes.
Okay, so Mary, your question, for lawn care, do you also pay the sales tax in the quarter the service is provided instead of when it is paid? Yes, that is correct. If you're talking about, if what you're really asking is, do you remit the sales tax that you collect? Yes, it's paid when the service is provided. If you're asking, when do you pay sales tax on your materials or any of your other things, you would pay that up front. I think you're asking the sales tax you collect from your customer. It goes back to at the time the service was provided.
Yeah, I think both of these questions are around the slides you had where they have not gotten paid yet by their customer, but they're asking to remit the sales tax because the service is provided.
Right, it's still due during that quarter when the service was provided. So then we had the one, was it, I don't know if we answered Trish's one. She has one when the service, I guess in that particular case, if the service is started in the second quarter but finished in the third quarter, which quarter gets the sales tax remittance? I'm going to have to ask you to send us an email on that particular question. A lot of times, if they're being billed, generally, what we'll say, if you've got a $10,000 contract and there are timely, what are the payments that are made throughout that period? Tax is upfront. Tax applies at the beginning of the contract. I believe that would be the same in this case. This is a little bit different. So if you wouldn't mind dropping us a line with an email, we'll get you an answer on that one. Okay. For lawn care chemical applications, for lawn care chemical applications are subject to sales tax. Oh, that's a question?
Yeah, our chemical applications subject to sales tax in terms of lawn care.
Right, they are, and I think if we went back to, I don't know which, that would fall under the lawn care. I don't know which of the slides had that on there, but yes, that would be taxable. That's a taxable service. Okay, we have one about bin construction contractors from Renee. Do bin construction contractors pay sales tax on bin materials when purchased from their suppliers? This goes back to the construction industry webinar that we had earlier. And effective July 1st of 2019, there was a change that dealt specifically with for grain bins. And let me see if I can go back and find that real quick on here. I've got a paper copy. I don't know if I could find it any other way. Okay. Okay, well, let's look at the question. Do bin construction contractors pay sales tax on bin materials when purchased from their suppliers? Okay, here it is. Effective July 1st, 2019, the sales price from the sale of a grain bin, including materials or replacement parts used to construct it, is exempt from sales tax. So, we said that the sale price from the sale of the grain bin is exempt from tax, meaning it's considered a materials used to construct and repair. Again, this is something effective July 1st. We're still working on our administrative rules on that. So we're going to have to wait until those come out to answer that specifically. Okay, any particular one you want me to go to here? Should I just go back to the top or not?
I've been checking to make sure they're still here, so most of the people are still in the webinar, so we'll try and answer your questions.
Okay.
Kelly, Janet, Gregory, but we've got Lynn has a general question she asks, so when we've had questions that are a little hard to answer, where do you want them to go? So I clicked back on your slide. You can move your slides to where you want to go. The best way would be when they either Terry or Paul has said, send us an email. They're looking for it to go to IDR at Iowa.
Yes.
Iowa.gov. Should be on the screen there then.
Up on the screen there, and then the department will make sure they get directed to the best person to answer the question, which may or may not be Paul or Terry.
Correct.
right? Yep.
Yep.
So there we go.
Thank you. All right.
So we got so we do have a bit of a landscaper question here from Crystal.
Okay. If an out-of-state landscaper, a retail contractor, builds their patio or small retaining wall and plants shrubs in that new area, do we need to itemize the invoice between construction and planting? If this is done, do we collect sales tax on the landscaping, labor, and materials? Okay, so how do we do this? And do not collect sales tax on the materials and labor for building the patio or retaining wall, but then remit use tax on the materials for the patio. Okay, so you're an out-of-state landscaper, you're building a patio, or I'm assuming that this is all taking place in Iowa. You're building a patio in Iowa or small retaining wall, and also planting shrubs in the new area. So a patio and a retaining wall are both considered structures. So in that particular case, there would be no tax on that construction project. Planting shrubs in the new area, if they're on or related to that, I think we talked a little bit about that in, let's see where we're at. Okay, go back. Landscapers as construction contractors. So any portion of a landscaping service that includes labor and materials to erect a structure is considered construction, not landscaping, and is generally exempt from sales tax. And to be exempt, the invoice must state the charges for construction contracting separate from landscaping charges. I think that's what you're asking. Do you need to itemize it? Yes, you do. So it has to be itemized in the contract and on the bill. Now, the second part of your question, if this is done, do we collect sales tax on the landscaping, labor, and materials? Or we do not collect sales tax on materials for the building? Okay. So you would not collect, in either case here, you're not going to collect tax on the patio, but on the landscaping, labor, and materials, you would not collect tax because it's on or related to new construction. It's kind of a complex question. Again, if that doesn't answer your question, if you want to send us an email, again at that same email address, idr@io.gov. We can, if you want to add any additional information to that question, we could respond to you more specifically. All right. Should subcontractors, here's one from Janet, should subcontractors charge labor to general contractors on new construction?
And she said, sorry, I meant sales tax.
Gotcha. Okay. So,
yeah,
so it'd probably be good for you to charge labor, but probably that's separate from the sales tax. The subcontractors, if it's new construction, there would be no tax on the labor for the general contractor or for the subs. It's all on or related to new construction. So no, you would not charge tax on that. Would asphalt overlay of an existing parking lot be considered new construction? I would say that is not new construction.
So Kelly, that's your question. Would asphalt overlay of an existing parking lot be considered new construction? It's sounding like it's not new construction, remodeling, expansion. So now the question that I would have is that service even subject to tax? And I don't know that it is. I don't think so. If you want to contact, look on our website, I'm pretty sure that an asphalt overlay is not a taxable service to begin with.
I agree.
Okay. All right, here's one from Gregory. If you build sheds that are built and then move to the site, do they qualify as new construction? If so, would you pay sales tax on materials but not bill the customer? Again, generally my idea of what a shed would be that you could haul and move to a site and install it. It would not generally be considered new construction. We talked a little bit earlier about the permanency of things. There's a lot of factors. A shed, to me, I would say would not be considered a permanent structure, that if you're going to put it on a flatbed and bring it and set it in somebody's yard, Therefore, it's not considered new construction and you would be selling them the shed. So you would then charge tax to your customer. I'm gonna pass on the roll-off dumpster one right now. How long can we expect an answer to take? Hey, you know what? Let's ask Terry, how long should they expect to wait?
Well, right now I know when I left this morning, the emails were down pretty low. So I would think within a few days, we can get some response for you. I think I can turn around on those fairly quickly if I'm the one that's going to get it. So we're doing pretty good right now on turnaround.
Very subject to the time of the year that you ask the question.
That's correct. This time of year, pretty good.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Kelly, to answer your question, when the recording is up, you'll be able to find it on iSourceLink. There won't be a specific email that goes out, but we will have that up a week from today. So a week from today, you'll be able to come back and watch it. There will be a follow-up email that goes out that will have that webpage in it. And then also we'll have information on thanking you for attending. So you can be able to watch for that to see it go live. But you'll have to go to the website to get the recording. It won't come in an email.
Okay, let's look at Sherry's question. If your landscaper replaces part of a chain link fence that surrounds your existing building, should the labor and materials be taxed? Again, a fence would be considered a structure. If they're just replacing a part of it, that would be considered a repair. And in that particular case, should labor and material be taxed? That's I would consider that part of landscaping, and yes, they would charge tax on that. Again, it depends on how much of if they're putting an entire new fence in that case, it would be considered exempt. But in your question, you asked just a part of that fence. Okay.
And so then Elizabeth's question, sure. We talked about whether when a project starts versus when it stops and how that reporting of sales tax is done, if that's the same as lawn care.
Okay, sure. Well, a little bit, your question asked, does construction follow the same reporting? If it's truly a new construction projects, which would be exempt from tax, we wouldn't have this problem. If you're talking instead of not truly a construction project, but a repair, then it would also be in the quarter when the service was performed. Now, again, if it's going to cover two different quarters, that's the question that we asked to forward to IDR@io.gov and get a better answer than I'm going to give you today on that, if you don't mind. Thanks, Elizabeth.
And the dumpster one too. That issue's come up before. I know we've got to get something from legal on that.
Yeah, so Gregory, you had a question on a roll-off dumpster service and whether or not that qualifies as part of new construction. As Terry was just saying to the side here, we need to get some advice from our legal folks on that. So if you wouldn't mind sending that question in again to IDR@io.gov, we'll get you a better answer. Okay.